my name is Stephanie Johnson. I'm the current guardian. I didn't know if you wanted everybody to introduce themselves.
Yep.
Derek Hovis. I am Gloria's granddaughter and here with my father, Earl. I think he's listed under Colleen's iPad.
I'm Earl Ross, Gloria's son.
Thank you. All right. I do see Peggy Sweener is here as well. Looks like this is a review hearing after the parties were sent to mediation. I take it that mediation did not result in an agreement.
No, sir.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Where are we to go from here?
So I'll speak up. So there's been a bit of a change. So Mary Ann, which is Earl, Gloria's daughter, she is no longer her own guardian. And this is just what I've heard through things. What I've heard is that now Peggy is actually Mary's guardian. So I maybe heard that Peggy may be not interested in taking on the guardianship. So I think really the question really lies within the family, because the family is the one that's been in question here about who they wanted to appoint. Earl did not want, he wanted a third party appointed. Peggy wanted to be the guardian because of what apparently was in the will. Then there was question about whether the will was authentic or whether it had changed after Mr. Ross had passed away. And then there was some fraudulent activity as well going on. And I did talk to a trooper about that yesterday. I know it's not what we're here about, but I don't foresee anything really coming of that to make anything come around of that after all these years. That's for another time though. So I guess Peggy would be the one to say whether, what her opinion is now, whether she still would want to pursue the guardianship or whether she's okay with it going to a third party, whether that be me or, another guardian. So.
Right. All right. Is Peggy with us? I saw her earlier, but I don't see her on the screen now. While we're waiting for Peggy, Earl, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, the reason I got involved with this is because there was fraudulent activity with my sister and my mother's accounts. So
Says who? Says who?
Well, I was appointed a guardianship for a short period of time because my mother's bills were not being taken care of. So in doing that, I got bank statements from my mother's accounts. I have those bank statements and everything, and that's they've been provided to the state police. I also gave them to Stephanie as well. So there is sufficient evidence, in my opinion, that her accounts were not handled properly. I'll put it in that phrase.
How long ago? How long ago did that occur?
About 2 years ago.
All right. And so your request now is that there still be a separate non-family member be the guardian?
If I would take it if Stephanie did not want it, but as far as I'm concerned, Stephanie has done a good job and to keep things as above board as possible. I'm really happy with what Stephanie's done.
All right. All right. Anything else, sir?
Yes, I because my sister was living with Peggy Sweener, they were residing in the same home during the time that I was referring to. I'm concerned about her having any authority with my mother's accounts.
All right. Miss Peggy
I
Sweener, are you still with us now?
am. I apologize. I seem to be having some connection issues today.
All right. Ms. Johnson has informed me that there may be some change in your perspective on this case. Why don't you tell me where you want to go with this?
Well, my perspective if grandmother had power that she signed prior to her being incompetent, and that needs
I'm
help.
sorry, Ms. Sweener, Ms.
Uh,
Sweener, I have to have you stop and back up because your connectivity is really bad right now. I missed about every other word.
Okay, give me 2 minutes. I'm gonna try to get my router reset.
All right, thank you.
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
So I think what's going to come up here in question two, maybe we can shine some light on the will. That was what we did not have during mediation, and we didn't have it during the first hearing. I believe, Mr. Delaney, do you have a copy of the will now?
I believe I do. I didn't search my records before this hearing, not anticipating that issue, but I do believe that came through.
Okay, I wasn't thinking that it would be an issue either, but
Is an issue.
yeah, I would just say it. There are some family issues here that are quite tense that I think go deeper than just the guardian and conservatorship. It's going to really become a matter of what's in this will and who's. I mean, it's unfortunate really that that's what this has become about, is what's in the will and the financial part of things, because Gloria is she's not here right now with us. I wasn't able to get over to Vanderbilt to bring her on this meeting, but she was on the last one. And if you saw her in her state, she's very peaceful right now with what she's doing and very happy and content. So to have all of this happening with everybody, when really she's the one in question, is just disappointing.
All right. Let me hear from Ms. Peggy Sweener at this point. Go ahead, ma'am.
All right. So I'm not really sure what Stephanie was meaning about my prospect has changed.
She simply said that there was maybe another guardianship that you might be involved in, and what she wasn't sure if you were able to take on both of these at the same time. So that's why I asked it the way I did. So
Okay.
Go ahead and tell me what it is that you want to do in this particular case.
Well, I do believe that my grandmother was of sound mind at the time that she put her power of attorney together. Her doctor stated that she was in sound mind at that time. Her attorney had stated that she was of sound mind at the time of putting the power of attorney together. And she met with her attorney. No one else did, unless my grandmother authorized it, which I do believe the attorney met with Earl at least once. So I have the strong belief that estate plans are made for a reason, and that's to put the person's interests and desires down on paper. I understand that there was a situation with my mom. I am now my mother's guardian. She has been deemed incompetent by the Emmett County Probate Court. I am running her guardianship. I have taken the guardianship conservator class that is put on by the Emmett County Probate Court. The teacher of that is Deb Nicewander, who's a previous probate register. I have done a lot of research into guardianship and conservatorship in the state of Michigan and what is allowed, what is not allowed. I have, according to the courts in Emmett County, immaculate record keeping of all expenses going in and out, income coming in, expenses going out. I did have to sell a piece of property that my mother had. I had to go to court and do that. I had to present that in front of the court. I have experience in this. I understand that my mom may or may not have done some things that were questionable. That has yet to be seen. As far as I know, I have not heard from any law enforcement agency stating that there is. Let me repeat that. I have not personally heard from a law enforcement agency that says that there is an investigation going on. We did have, I think, a trooper at one of the court hearings, but nothing has ever been presented at all as far as evidence to a prosecuting attorney to prosecute that. I do believe that my mom was having some very serious issues for a while, and it just happened that I could not get guardianship. As this court knows, gaining guardianship in a contested guardianship is difficult. I did finally have enough evidence to go in front of the judge in Emmett County and get guardianship of my mom. She was placed in a AFC home for care, and I have been managing all of her medical appointments and everything as I was appointed her full guardian.
Okay, thank you on that part of it, but what are your intentions on this side of the case?
I wish to continue to get guardianship of my and conservatorship of my grandmother as she wished when her power of attorney.
Well, there are opposing sides in this particular case, and so in order for that to occur, we would have to have a contested hearing at which both sides would be able to present their evidence as to whether or not there was any, whether there was competence or whether there was undue influence, whether there was issues involving whether or not your grandmother was appropriate to do powers of attorney or those sorts of things. I don't think there's any question that the guardianship is necessary. The question is who's going to do that. And right now, everything is in turmoil and difficult to do. Is there any, while there is this family turbulence, Ms. Peggy Sweener, is there any issue in your mind with the activities of Ms. Johnson? Is she doing things correctly as far as you can tell?
Actually, I've had many issues with Miss Johnson. I had to notify the court that the taxes on both pieces of property were well overdue before she paid them. After the huge ice storm that we had up here, Miss Johnson.
Back up, hang on, back up a second. You had to notify the court. Who did you notify and when?
I sent an email to Mr. Delaney, Miss Stephanie, and the probate court about the fact that the taxes were well overdue.
I'll speak to that because I emailed back on that, and that check was in the mail, and I contacted them and talked to them about that. And I had asked them specifically to send me a receipt saying that that was paid and that it was not a holdup on my end. So that was taken care of. And I specifically emailed you back about that and let you know that I had also gone out to the property just previously to that as well and did an inspection of the property. So
all right, thank you.
Those were not.
All right, Ms. Sweener, when I ask you a question that says, do you have any problem with how Ms. Johnson is doing things? I'm not asking you for your own personal opinion about her. I'm asking if there's anything outstanding that hasn't been done. And the timing of paying taxes is not one of those such issues. So I'm not here for you to criticize Ms. Johnson. I'm just asking in a general way, is there something obvious that she's not doing at this point? Is there anything like that?
Yes, I believe so.
Well, I have to tell you this, I've been here for 8 months and I've used Ms. Johnson a number of times and I've not had any issues in any other case. So it's a bit hard for me to believe that it just happens to be in this particular case, she might have a problem.
I understand.
It tells me a little bit more about you than you probably want me to know at this point. All right, Mr. Delaney, do you have any perspective that needs to be aired at this point?
I just want to know from Miss Johnson's standpoint, do you have control of all the assets? Because I'm hearing about power of attorney and guardianships in Emmett, and I don't want there to be two hands on the same checkbook. So are there any, because you're the interim conservator at this time, are you able to manage the estate of Gloria, or do you have some conflict?
I am worried about the properties because I have not been able to get into the houses. There are no keys to get inside. When I've gone to the property, there's clearly a camera on the outside of the house, but I can't, and it appears to be on, but I don't know who's watching that. There's no communication with me about who's watching that. I don't know if Marcus is actually living there. And I did in the email that we are all in, because I knew that communication is an issue. I did question whether anybody was living there, and I did not get a response on that. When I tried to call Marcus, I don't get an answer. I've really have done as much as I can. There's nothing more I can do with the properties. The properties are a huge concern because they're just sitting there decaying. And well, I do have control over the assets and the accounts. The bank accounts are safe, but the properties are just, they're losing value. I mean, I think that's one thing that all of the family, that's the only thing that the family agrees on, is that they care about the properties. And unfortunately, those properties are just sitting in really rough shape right now, and they're deteriorating and losing value. So the properties I have no control over. I'll be honest. I have gone out there. I've taken pictures of the properties in the same spot, so you can see the progress of time. And the properties are my concern. The money is okay. It's in the bank. It's untouched. She has very minimal bills. So that's not a problem, but the property.
All right, and that's a
That's
specific issue, and I think you answered my question. Where I was going with my question was that you are managing the estate. You're not in competition with any other family member who's either trying to cash checks or exercise power, because
Oh, no,
okay, because there appears to be
no, I don't believe so. No one's.
All right, in other words, and I'm not taking sides here, but the power of attorney or any guardianship in Emmett are not being utilized to exercise control over the estate.
Mr. Delaney, the guardianship in Emmett is over Mary Anna Sweener, not Gloria.
Okay.
And no, the last hearing, the judge actually put in the conservator notes that the power of attorney was voided until further notice. And
That's
no,
right.
no one has touched the accounts to my knowledge.
Thank you. And that's what I thought, but we haven't had a hearing in a little bit. And there was a lot of discussion about the guardianship and the power of attorney. But so long as those aren't being utilized, because we can't have two masters
of course
here.
No.
Okay, so
And
then I think I'm satisfied that the assets are protected. Then I think all the court can do is set it for a contested hearing. I do want to add, speaking for myself, that a court could appoint, not to steal the court's thunder, an independent, even if there's no impropriety in the estate, just because of the contentiousness. I just want the parties to be aware of that. So without even a showing of wrongdoing, or whether or not the power of attorney was validly entered, the court could simply appoint an independent if it chose to do that. And I don't speak for the court, but I wanted having done this work for a couple of decades, that the parties should be aware of that. Thank you, Judge.
All right. As to the properties, is there some consensus among the family members as to what can be done in the meantime while we're waiting for this contest with the properties? Is there some reason to delay trying to get these properties sold, or is there some other avenue that should be taken at this point to preserve their value? Or do you simply want to let them sit until we've decided how the case is going to be resolved? Earl, what's your thought first?
Well, in first place, Peggy's son is living in one of the properties, and the court in the last hearing said that he should be paying rent. I don't know if he is paying rent, and obviously from what Stephanie's just said, she has no control over that whatsoever. She has also indicated that she doesn't have access, any keys or anything to the property. I would like the court to have the locks removed and new ones put on from the estate in order that she would have access to all of those. It is clear that there was personal property of my dad's and my mom's as well. contained in the houses and in the garage. And I would like to know that that property is somewhat secure. I doubt seriously if it has been secure, but since Stephanie does not have keys to that, there is a misnomer here in that there really isn't contention in the family. At least I don't have any contention in the family. I am concerned with the protection of my mom. And from what I have seen with, like I said, the accounts that I was access to, I have great reason to be concerned. And I am happy that the court has appointed a third party. It has given me a sense of some security for that. And I don't want the property sold if it can be helped. If there is sufficient funds in my mother's accounts to keep her in the home where she is happy and contented and well taken care of, I would like to see that done. But the property does have sentimental value to me, and I'm sure also to my sister. And I would not like to see it sold unless it was necessary for the support of my mother.
All right. Peggy Sweener, what are your thoughts on the property and what needs to be done with it right now?
Well, at this point, Marcus is no longer living there. The email that Stephanie sent me, I thought she said that she was going to have the locks changed, and I would admit I would go ahead and do that, definitely. I have tried to find keys that my mother had, but in her state, there's not really a lot of ability to find that kind of thing. As far as the property's disposition, I do believe that that the family would like to keep the properties as much as possible. They are family properties that have been in the family for multiple generations on one, and the other one was bought by my grandmother and grandfather, Gloria and Robert. So I think keeping the properties is probably a priority. They do need some maintenance. They need to be able to, so whoever is taking care of the property, has the conservatorship, needs to be able to, hire somebody to mow the grass and et cetera, and access the properties. So I think changing the locks is definitely a good idea. I don't have any problem with that at all. There's also some padlocks on some of the outbuildings that probably should be changed, since no keys, I haven't been able to find any keys for them. I do know that Marcus has left the property. I think he still has a couple of pieces of his personal materials there that he's going to go out and get in the next week or so. But he did say that it was just too much to try to keep up everything and try to maintain. So he did decide to leave.
All right. Ms. Johnson, what I'm going to direct you to do as part of my orders is to change the locks on the property so that you have control of those things.
Mhm.
Do whatever minimal amount of maintenance you believe is necessary. If there's something that's clearly a safety hazard, you fix that. Otherwise, simply allow the buildings to be maintained in a minimal fashion until we can resolve this matter. And then the court's going to set this for a contested hearing in the future. Is there any other discovery or any other information that either side needs from the other side before we have that contested hearing? Ms. Sweener, is there anything from your side that you believe that you need from the others, the family, or from Ms. Johnson to be ready for a contested hearing?
I would like to have an accounting on her funds, just so we know how much she's working with. But I don't know if that's something we can do.
That really doesn't.
No. I
really
don't
doesn't
think so.
address the issue of who should be the guardian, or whether it should be you or whether it should be somebody else. But I'm,
I
Ms.
don't believe
Johnson,
so.
Ms. Johnson, when would your next statement come out as to the state of the guardianship and conservatorship?
I'm
When would
pretty
you
sure
like to-
that's coming up due. That was on my radar actually to look into. I'm pretty sure she's coming up due. Miss Gloria.
So why don't you go ahead and get that started and send it out to the parties so that they have as much up-to-date information as to the status of the estate and the holdings of the guardianship and conservatorship as possible. Earl, from your perspective, is there anything that you need from Peggy's side that you don't have access to now?
No, they've just, since Stephanie has control of it, I feel like the property is more secure. I need to say something, and that is that in my mother's house, my dad's house, there are firearms. And I would like those taken care of. Either at my place, I have a gun safe where they can be put in, but I haven't been able to get any access to the house for that. And hopefully they're still there. I don't know that, but I hope that they are. I would like those taken care of. They were my dad's, and at least one of them was my grandfather's. So if at all possible, I would like the court to have Stephanie understand that those are there, and I would be more than happy to help in any aspect possible for that in any case. And that goes for the maintenance of the property as well. I would be happy to contribute my time and effort in that as well.
I will definitely reach out for the maintenance because the reason why I haven't gone out there and done an overhaul on the property because the money that's in the bank, I wanted to save for Gloria's living. However long she lives, I want to use that money to keep her where she's at. She's content, happy, well taken care of. So I don't want to spend money on property that, is not, none of that's going to benefit her at this point. It's just going to benefit, you guys when she passes. So I want to keep things for her as long as, but yes, the maintenance, I will reach out to you and I will definitely reach out to family to help as much as possible first. So we don't have to use her funds in the account. So and family help is much appreciated.
There are things there on the property that can be sold as scrap, a tractor that could be sold. There are other things on the property that could be sold to help fund my mother's care. And I would be happy to help with that as well.
I'm happy to take that help. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
As to the firearms or the sale of any substantial amount of things, I would simply ask Ms. Johnson that you take the lead in those things.
Absolutely.
And make sure that you know where and who if firearms are to be removed and stored someplace. I don't have a problem with you using family members to do that, but that information needs to be spread out among the rest of the family as well, so that everybody is aware of where things are. If anything is going to be sold off of the property, there needs to be some consensus that that's okay at the moment, and then the proceeds need to be either held for pending future use by Gloria or distributed among the family members equally. But I'll leave that to you, Ms. Johnson, to decide those issues at the moment. All right, so it sounds like everybody has the information or is going to get the information that they need. I'm going to set this for a half a day hearing in the future. I don't have an idea of when exactly that's going to be yet. My court staff will have to see what my calendar looks like, and we'll send out notice to everybody. It probably will be 30 to 60 days down the road before we get a half a day time period for that. And then I'll hear from all of you. I'm going to want to do this in person as opposed to over Zoom. So just be aware that you'll be required to be in the courtroom so that we can all talk with each other and we can have sidebars if we need to. And I can address each one of you individually much more easily than I can do over Zoom. Any other questions, Ms. Sweener, that you have?
No, I don't think so.
All right, Earl, any questions that you have?
No, I think that I've got all my questions answered. I appreciate it.
All right, Ms. Johnson, anything from you?
No, sir.
Mr. Delaney?
No, thank you.
All right, Ms. Coves, I haven't addressed you individually, but anything else that you have before we close out today?
No, we're good. Thank you.
All right, I will see you at the next court hearing. And thank you very much for your time and attention today. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.